Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the December EGPOA regular board meeting. We are going to begin, this one's for you, Patrick, with the pledge to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is Alana Kaufman, Vice President. I will be presiding over today's meeting. Patrick is joining us via Zoom. We will begin with the roll call.
Patrick.
Here.
Lana.
Here.
Pearl. Here. Dan. Here. Tom. Leslie.
Yeah.
Joel. Here. Beverly. Alex. Here. Zach.
Here.
Favorite one.
Okay, first on our agenda is the approval of minutes from the November 17th meeting, which was the second annual and regular meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes? Or that's under tab 1 of your agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Joel makes the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any recusals, abstentions? Okay. I'm gonna actually change the order that is on the agenda for board members. I'm gonna actually call the member and homeowner comments up like we did last time. I think that was helpful. So any members, we have to do that by motion.
To take the agenda out of order.
Yeah, you good?
Yeah.
Motion to take the agenda.
Okay, so do we have any members or community members who would like to add a comment? Have any information?
Okay.
Okay, moving forward. Madam Clerk, you're up. Oh,
Yeah. Okay, your tab 2 is your payment plan. But I think we went over that with Phil also.
That's fine.
So we just need a motion to move forward with that.
Make a motion to accept the payment.
I'll second.
Favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
CPO class, that is a certified pool operator class. There was some information about the class. It's a $350 class. Our maintenance person, Anthony Borelli, will be taking the class. I just need the approval for him to take the class at a cost of $350.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Any opposed?
Who's second? I'm sorry.
I second. Favor.
The motion passes.
Hey, our postage machine is up for renewal.
Do we need it? We need it bigger, this bigger one. Do we need this size one? Because we're not doing that. That's
Right, that's,
But this is the right size.
the right size for us is moving down, because we don't use it as much. But it's the smaller machine is what will work. We don't need the automatic feed because we don't do the, with the electronic voting, we don't do the kind of mailings we used to. Our current lease is $350 a month. That would take us down to around $35. So, and it's just a, basic machine. We will have, it will be a little cumbersome for the invoice portion. in the beginning of the year, but, you can also work around that with possibly getting stamped envelopes.
We email our, and don't find them to them, and that's another.
You can, well, yeah, we do email them. You could probably get more in, we can get more into doing that. That could be a savings.
Okay.
And instead of mailing, but we still have, a handful of people that
Yeah.
want the, so that's something up to you guys. If you wanted to go electronic and just get with the smaller base machine, that's okay.
Is it used by both companies or just POA?
It is used by both companies.
Is the cost split or is the proposal for the POA fit the entire cost?
The cost is not split here. The reason, if you look on the quote price, there were two different prices. One says for the water company, so that's what would, if we kept the same type of machine and if it went as, you know, with that. Our hope in the rate case, we do have where it's taking for the water company, taking the statements out, so we're able to email statements. Right now, our rate case, our current water tariff says that the bills have to be physically mailed.
And that's required by PSC?
That's required by the PSC, but that will be dropping in this rate case. We'll be emailing and they'll have to request if they want to pay.
Are you comfortable with the smaller machine, the 35-hour machine? If you want,
That's the one I'm recommending.
I make a motion that we renew the lease, I make a recommendation, for 35 hours a month, I just have to statement.
Is there a second?
Is there a second?
Awesome.
All those in favor say aye to renew the leases.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion
Who
passes.
seconded?
Entertaining courts. Do we want to repaint them? With the scraping as part of them, I haven't gotten prices yet on the court paint, or we can take care of that in-house now. So I'm just looking for kind of directions. We talked about changing it. We talked about doing different things with it. We don't have to make a decision. You guys do not have to make a decision right now. If it's, you want me to look into further. I just like to you know, put it in your memories and get it fresh again.
In the interim, maybe it's good to take a look at just some patching while we're working on that.
Okay,
If we can get a color match and just,
probably close.
Do we have a price to put down that plastic for?
I believe that was, we have to that time was like 78,000. Somewhere in that neighborhood.
Can we go back to like what was first proposed? How we did the floor?
That's what Joel was just talking about. Was that one?
It just make it hurt once because no matter what happens, it's gonna keep going. Right, it's gonna keep going. So, you know,
Do we have a budget for it?
That's a favor of you for the courts so that we could take a look at it. Can you write us up a brief description of what you consider the maintenance, like how often that court needs to be made with the painting, like what you're talking about? Is that something we're looking at every 5 years, every 10 years?
I can give you a quick report right now. I
Yeah.
think it's gonna be, because what's happening is it's a multi-purpose, which you guys know. And it's getting with the
that's it.
equipment
The
being
more you use it, the more you
moved around, it's scraping more.
So we're like 2 or 3 years in, just so I can kind of.
I think we would have had to let the first year go through the kind of baseline, what we thought the usage was gonna be.
How many square feet?
I think the usage is gonna be a lot.
That's a good thing.
I think it was 8. That's fire.
Top of my head.
Are you, and what you
Fire
were saying
department.
was making changes to the striping in addition to just the regular like
No, just, this would be just,
maintenance?
maybe we can get an art teacher to come in and
No,
do
thank you.
the stripes, a volunteer. a couple of-
It's very straight line. I think.
Is there, there's a product that, is used in garages for the floors, a self-leveling.
That's the epoxy that we have in the pool house.
And it's,
That was much more expensive.
yeah,
Um,
Well,
But again, but that's just a one-time thing.
right.
But that's still-
And then there's, yeah, exactly how much, but,
potentially one.
yeah.
Yeah, hold on, I don't want to cut anyone off, but it's a little choppy. Just adding 2 cents if it's redundant, I'm sorry, because it is a little choppy. But it's only been a couple, we only painted it a year and a half, 2 years ago, and it needs a touch up. I think we look into, even though if it's out of the budget, look into the tiles. One, longevity. Two is the sounding in there is still kind of an issue, right? So I think it's going to accomplish a couple of things, but that's it. If you guys have said that already, I'm sorry, but it is a little choppy on this end.
Great call out.
No, good call.
I was just gonna say.
I got that at the car wash, and it just,
But I think
You're not playing
there's a
basketball.
different experience, not just basketball. This is gonna be rough on anybody's knees. Does it make a difference whether it's basketball, pickleball, tennis? Jumping up and down on plastic is different than jumping up and down on gears. This is dangerous. I'm just from an athletic perspective, spot on, this is.
that's why I was, thinking about the epoxy, even though it's more expensive,
I also
it
think,
will last longer.
what we looked at originally was, we have to redo the floor 8 or 10 times with the course paint to cover the cost of the project. So if we're only 2 years in now, and if we redid it all once, we're still so I don't think we're in a position where we should be able to throwing $100,000.
Things that, and then with the increased likelihood of injury. Increased likelihood of people filing suit, like this is real.
Shipping paint can be addressed.
That's harder than jumping up and down in the cement floor.
Nah, this you gonna hurt yourself. I'll give you a prime example. If you got, this is not about basketball, or the basketball, when I shoot, don't give way.
after a while being used, you can see it, it's got,
Waves.
yeah. And if you want to see it, I have it, I can show it to you.
I mean, it is, we were looking at different avenues to go when we took that particular product. There's a couple courts in Middletown that have a couple indoor courts, or Orange County somewhere, that use it. My concern about that is they say it's every couple of years, you also have to take the court up. And there's a lot of little holes in there. There's a lot of little stuff that's.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to railroad the meeting and have this, I just want to put it to the forefront so we could, start discussing it again and figure out what to do. The volleyball people do have, let's say the people that get together that play volleyball, the league, let's call it, that gets together, isn't causing the problem with moving the equipment. It's no, there's kids in there. There's younger people that are trying to move those big things all by themselves, and they're heavy. They're heavy.
Can I ask, so in terms of just considering when we would actually do this work, there's a cash flow consideration, but then there's also a weather consideration, because you have to open up the windows and all that to do the painting, right? Let me ask you this question, if we were going to approve this, when would be the next kind of, given it's 18 degrees outside, what would be the next kind of ideal seasonal time to actually do?
Well, we would, if we were just going to patch and touch up, we would start then. in the next couple of weeks, just start patching and close the court down here. Couple days, wait for a warmer day, just patch it a little bit.
Okay.
As far as a whole painting, yes, that we would have to wait
Going straight, like,
till springtime. And I'm not sure, you might have to do the same thing with the epoxy, I'm not.
I don't think so.
The epoxy would be a much longer period.
You're right.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Just, I'll put another thing.
You're welcome. Okay, I'm done.
Okay. So we don't need to amend it, so we have to revisit
Yep.
our meeting. Okay. Agenda. Board, item C is, relates to what Patrick sent us. Patrick, would you mind taking over item C? This is.
Yeah, sure. The first item is really just an update for board members, but the community should know as well. Just to back up, under the Corporate Transparency Act, the federal government issued the U.S. Department of Treasury issued regulations under that act that requires reporting of certain ownership information for closely held companies. It's been opined that that applies to homeowners associations like ours as well. And beneficial owners in those cases typically means the members of the board. In late November, a federal court in Texas issued a nationwide injunction on enforcement of the act. And on, I think it was December 6th, the Treasury Department suspended any reporting requirements for companies like ours until the injunction issue is resolved. But everybody needs to stay on pretty close notice to see if the injunction is dissolved or stayed or otherwise goes away. And then we would have to react quickly and file our reporting. I've received from a few of the board members the information that I requested. I would just ask others to go back to your emails and look at that. It's a good idea for us to have the information for the filing lined up. We can also voluntarily make the filing if we want in the meantime, but I don't have all the information to do that, so I wouldn't be able to do that. But again, to be clear, nobody's social security numbers are needed. The most invasive part of it is either your driver's license or a copy of your passport. All right, but there's nothing we really need to do on that at this point. Any questions on that?
We're not
Okay.
gonna file, and then the water company can file either.
I'm sorry?
The water company, we don't have to file, and the water company will. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the water company would also need to look at this, and hopefully is getting advice on it as well. But if they want our thoughts too, I'm happy to help. Okay.
All corporations about that to do.
You don't get a thing where.
It's corporate.
Okay, go ahead, Patrick.
Okay, it is, I gotta tell you, it's incredibly hard to hear you guys. Okay, so the something I've been promising to work on and produce for everybody are a set of proposed corporate governance policies. This is just good board governance, good corporate governance, like a conflict of interest policy, a whistleblower policy, conduct policy. We actually have a conduct policy, and you'll see that the draft in here is very similar to that. I thought it was really good. It just took out sort of the enforcement provisions of that because I think those are in conflict with our bylaws. We also don't have on record a director indemnification policy. I know it's been the informal policy of EGPOA and the board to indemnify board members and the board if there are suits, but this puts it squarely into play in a written document. We also have a email and document retention policy, which is a smart thing to have, a social media policy, which is another smart thing to have. I will tell you the conflict of interest policy is something that is required by the New York Not-for-Profit Corporation Law. That's the law under which our organization is organized. And though we do not have 20 employees, companies that have 20 employees and $1 million or more in revenue are supposed to have a whistleblower policy. It's just a good idea to have it anyway, and doesn't hurt us at all. So I've put together those 6 policies, sent them around to the board members, and I'd ask if you have any questions. And if you do, maybe we can filter them through Alana first, and I can hear you well and
Perfect.
can answer that way.
Question, are these documents gonna be published for the community?
Sure.
to see?
Yeah, they're part of our corporate records. And I should say, by the way, maybe it was obvious, maybe not from the emails, board members, that Marvin has reviewed these as well. Marvin provided me some comments to the director indemnification policy, which I incorporated.
So this will be email to?
Let me, yeah. I'm looking at that director indemnification policy and I don't see the change from the original one that I emailed. About making it subject. I don't see it, I see the original.
You hear that, Patrick?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now to see why that.
I was concerned about those, to make sure those other exemptions in that 722 or 726, it doesn't look under, see that it's just a blanket indemnification. Because the original one, I'm looking at it. But I don't see it.
Let me see. I'm just hopefully it's a matter.
See it in the-
Yeah, I hear you. I'm just looking. I'm hoping it's a matter of me just having sent the wrong version around.
No, he found it. He found it. He found it.
Oh, so it's good. We're good?
Yeah.
Patrick, I have a question about one of the documents, the email and the document retention.
Yeah.
I'm happy to be swayed on the answer of this. Personally, I think anything less, the 3 years or less should be amended only because our board director terms are 3 years, which means there's no carryover for those records. Is that something that should be considered?
Sure, that's a good point. Look, a lot of these numbers are they're, I don't want to say they're arbitrary, but they're certainly flexible.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of thought behind, how long do you keep some things, because if there's a lawsuit later on, you don't necessarily, as long as you have a good policy, if you don't have those documents, oops, oh well. And then some things you just, you want to keep permanently, obviously, and those are marked here as permanent, like deeds and Secretary of State filings, just for example, old copies of bylaws, that sort of stuff. But yeah, anything that's 3 years or less, that's a really good point. We could move that to 5, I would say.
Dan, did you want to say something?
Well, I think ultimately the account holder would be the management, because they're the overseer of all of the emails. So it wouldn't matter if an election cycle occurred or not. Management and the president would have oversight into the emails and documents. So I don't really see why we need to change that anyways.
Because I think it'll get cleaned up. If we follow Patrick's thing, so basically someone will go on the server and say, oh, all emails after this point, gone.
How does that work with someone who gets reelected? Because if you have an email address,
Right.
you do your 3 years, you get elected for another 3 years, another 2 years, another 1 year, you're not getting a new email address. So the policy would have to sit with management that there's a purge after a certain amount of duration, whether that's
Exactly.
2 years, 3 years, that's the policy. So Joel gets reelected, he's starting off that second term with no emails.
No, it'd be 5 years. You keep-
Oh, okay, then it's 5 years, but whatever that duration is, that duration is. And
You're right. You're right.
It's not the director's responsibility to align themselves with that. That would be management and the president's responsibility.
True, but eventually what's gonna, correct me if I'm wrong, eventually these files, but the storage area, it's gonna get huge on Michael's server. And he's gonna need to clean it up, or we're gonna have to find more servers.
He has access to all the emails anyways.
No, I know, but I'm saying if he deletes them, if he starts cleaning them up, that's the issue. So if he deletes everything from 5 years ago,
My question is I don't have. I don't have access to everybody's client, access to. Have,
but the regular server, so the.
No.
So guys, let me just interrupt for a sec, because I'm looking just at board director emails, since it sounds like we're focusing on that, and as drafted, it calls for a retention period of 7 years following the end of that director's service. So if Joel's elected for 2 terms and whatever year it ends, it's 7 years following the end of that service. So I think there's no risk that somebody will be, without the emails for the entirety of their board service. And some board members serve longer than 6 years. If you were not elected to one, in the first time a 3-year term, you might serve longer. Who knows?
My point wasn't regarding emails either. I was thinking just about documents that we had a reference back to. I wasn't particularly speaking about, at my point. So Patrick, can we, my suggestion is to make a motion and to approve the documents with the amendment that nothing says less than 5 years.
Would be 5 years. Yeah, I'm fine with that. If
Okay.
That's the way the board wants to go, no problem.
Yeah, I make a motion to accept Patrick's all 6 proposed corporate governance policies with the amendment on the email and document retention policy being no less than 5 years for all documents. Anything over that can stay as is. Discussion.
Yeah, I think we need to just revisit this in general, because again, when we're talking about all documents, it could either be digital or actual physical document. So I think we just need to make sure that understanding on what is expected from each director. For instance, if Joel is printing the financials.
Yeah, just talk up some.
If Joel's printing the financials out, the old rule of thumb was those financials would stay with Joel until he carried over and they would have to be destroyed or retained or whatever that might look like. So if Joel prints them out now and they're digital and in-hand copy, what would be the position of Joel for that 5-year period? Are we saying that we want now, because I would just implement a very simple policy that at the end of each calendar year, all directors turn in all documents to the office, whatever you might have at home. And then those become the documents that we work on retention. We send them to Iron Mountain or whatever that might look like. Because if you're just going to get into a position where maybe Joel printed this, but maybe he didn't, and then it's arbitrary. So I would just think that we need to revisit that.
Yeah, what I would suggest on that, Dan, is we could do like a sort of like a training, a couple of months in, and then sort of revisit this policy regularly as we realize practically how it carries out. So exactly the example you're citing, I think, is a good one, and maybe there's another way to sort of tweak that language a little bit to fit that particular practice. I don't know that we're going to be able to encompass every single potential scenario, but hopefully we'll have a good set of rules to start with, and then we can tweak them as we see our circumstances coming about.
Make everything digital, and then
I don't put anything out, everything's digital.
so if we can, but we would have to implement that in policy.
Yeah.
Well, I think the only thing that I would concern myself about, I'm a digital dude, but not everybody is, so you don't have the same page. It just becomes, if there's a new person that comes in and that person is an accountant, and I'm not picking on Joel, but just in that space, from an accounting perspective, some folks have a tendency to do more with paper than online. Now we're just constricting that person. That person needs to be aware of that. I personally prefer everything to be electronic, because then there's no question about where the stuff is left at someone's home. We have to think about how that impacts persons who are not at this table future forward.
I just know that there's, and I'm kind of getting to a position because there's a lot of policies that are on the books regarding identities of people and stuff like that. So when we start having either digital or non-digital documents with identities, names, phone numbers, addresses, the type of records retention on that changes. And I just think that we need more to look into that.
Okay, so yeah.
I think Patrick's suggestion is correct. It's a good idea to adopt these policies. One, for our liability issues. It's good to have a policy, but sometimes if there's lawsuits involved in other cases where they want to go back 5, 6 years and look at all the emails between people, and if they're been destroyed, not intentionally, then allegations that you destroyed it, so you have a policy, and for little things or nuances that come up, like Dan's talking about, you can change it, it's a policy, it's not ironclad, and you can tweak it in a couple of months if you see you're having a problem or you want to make a little change. But it's a good idea to have these, I think, for liability purposes anyway. If your insurance carrier would like it, maybe you might be able to save $2.
Okay, so there's a motion on the table. Let's vote on that motion.
Yep.
And we'll roll call that.
So does anybody save files on the network, or do you keep it on your private computer?
They're all attached to your.
No, what I'm saying is like, so for me, I'll pick me, for example, when I'm looking at stuff, I'll be downloading things with the Rent Manager and saving them, okay?
On your laptop.
On your laptop.
On your list.
On my laptop, but I would much rather prefer to do that on your server. I don't know.
I don't have a,
No? Okay.
we don't have a, our server is.
No, that's my question. So when you were saying, I was thinking, so, you know what, maybe I should, at the end of this year, I have a whole 24 file. Boom, I should send that up to you, but I don't know where.
Because your firewall is different than the company's firewall.
Oh, great.
And now you can open the association up, so that's.
Oh, great.
It wasn't-
If I get.
Hey, guys,
access-
guys, I would prefer we put the
Yeah.
table of this conversation to a workshop. I
Sure.
don't think we need to have this out in
No problem.
recorded view.
So,
Can you amend your motion to perhaps adopt this?
You can make a
You can
motion
make
to
it.
amend the main motion.
Yes.
Otherwise, we can put it on
Motion
next.
to amend is to, adopt these policies for a period of, I don't know, 6 months, a year.
They're always
For
subject to
possible,
change.
yeah, subject to change of
Well, it
regulations.
doesn't, at that point, Leslie, doesn't, next month.
we always have the ability to change it. So do you want, okay.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna go back to the original motion just for now, so we can vote on it. The motion is to accept all 6 corporate governance policies as is, and we're gonna do a roll call.
With the provision that in the document retention policy, all documents be retained for no less than 5 years.
Perfect.
yeah, before we do that, and I'm not gonna rush, this needs to be workshop. I'm in the space of security. You can do everything the right way. I break into your house, I can get everything that you have access to when I get to your house. So this needs to be workshop. Period.
Recommend you leave that.
Not a problem, but we gotta workshop this.
Okay.
I request a roll call vote. Patrick,
Yes.
Lana,
Yes.
Earl,
Abstain.
Joel,
Yes.
I vote yes. Dan,
Yes.
Leslie,
Abstain.
Alex,
Abstain.
Zach,
Abstain.
motion passes.
You know, sign up, can you- so,
There are 9 members present. A majority of the members present voted yes.
But we are on a board and I'm gonna speak my mind.
Oh, I hear
We
you.
can talk about it later, we can talk about it, but it's serious.
Okay, moving forward to the financial review. Joel,
Okay, so I sent out your parents reports to people. You're doing okay. Yeah, I sent you an email regarding last.
Yeah, I told you.
You're okay with that?
Get that.
Yeah, please do. So if there are any questions that we have on the financials, let me know.
we elect to vote.
Right, so vote, I made the motion that you guys accept the financials as is, and get a second. I'll second. How are you?
Right, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any refusals, any abstentions?
A motion, I'm sorry.
Motion to accept and Earl second.
Motion passes.
And so now we go. Earl second.
Thank you.
So then, when you go to, page 60 in your, what's on 60 here, but it's the fund.
Tab 7.
Tab 7, it's the fund balances. And right now, what happens is that all of our cash is kept together in one account. And we have these balances here that break down. And basically it lets you know how much is in each account, how much is in each fund. But the total cash is $795. So we opened up a new bank account and I made a motion that we move the funds that are non-operational into this new bank account that we opened up. And the existing bank account that we have would show our cash balance. So that at any particular point in time, you know, you will be able to know how much is operation money and how much is fund money, you know, and there's
So
no,
this account is for fund money?
I'm sorry,
This new account is for fund money?
exactly.
And which
Fund.
bank account? Yes, fund.
So.
Which bank account, please?
So the existing bank account that Mike has set up that we've always been using would be used for operations, because that's
No,
where,
I know that, but which bank?
oh, it's the same bank, Wayne Bank, right?
Um,
So what basically happened is that, let's say, at the end of the year, we would transfer the funds over, we can do it now, it doesn't matter. And then what would happen is that, you know, we roll into 2025, and the money is gonna get deposited into the main operating account, and then the monies that we earmarked from the dues would then be moved over. And we could, you know, run it like that, and then on a monthly basis or quarterly basis, as you collect more capital improvements or loan, or the TNC or whatever else you got, that's non-operational, will get moved in. So the advantage here is that when you're 6 months in or 7 months in, you can look at your operational account and say, okay, this is how much I have left. What's our estimated burn rate for the balance of the year? How we doing? You know, so, you know, that's what it would be there. So,
and how much was this amount, you said?
basically, we would move 714,000 into the fund account. And,
714?
yes, and we would have 138,411 in the operating account. So, like, if you take this, so let's just say for argument's sake, to make life easier, our burn rate is $38,000. Then we would have $100,000 left over in the operating account. And we can say, okay, well, what do we want to do with that? We should pay down the loan with that, because we know that once we take this money and we back away any outstanding payables, this money is free and clear. And we can do it all we want. So, and we know it's a good number. So,
Dan, I think you have a question.
good question.
No, I don't think there's any question about the intent on what we want to do here. So when was the account opened?
We just recently opened it up, right?
That's what you signed.
So the account is open, it's zero balance right now?
Yes.
Is there a monthly fee associated with the account?
No, once you would have,
It should be, once you have a minimum balance.
So obviously, if there's no fees or nothing else associated with the account, then there's no expense. The only other thing I would say to that is, the biggest reasoning for lumping the money into one account historically has been for the interest accrued. Obviously, putting it all into one collective account, you receive a greater interest, which you wouldn't get on split accounts now, right?
well, like this, we would have to talk to Wayne Bank, because that's a whole different account. You were president, or we got rid of all the individual accounts and combined everything in.
Likely not a lot of money that we would be leaving on the table.
Well, no, I think you'd probably make more, because with this money here, you'd be able to earmark out. Let's say that 650,000, you know, we know that we're not gonna have a need for 300,000 or 400,000. We'd be able to say, hey, we can put this out for the next 3 to 6 months.
No, I got you. It's no question on that. But I'm saying if there's not much, I think we should know what the interest potential loss is, if there is. And I think it's a good thing to do regardless, because if you're spending $85,000 a month on your budgetary expenses, you now have a pattern just to look at, say, okay, this is what I have built. I'm with you on that. It's no question. For me, tangibly, it's important to know what we have that's on the table for the interest potential loss. That,
So to his point, question, is the interest based at an account level?
no,
So, but then,
I don't think you lose any interest.
I don't think you lose any interest if it's a profile, it's based off of a profile, it's based off per account.
So it's basically per account, but I don't think you lose any interest, because whatever interest they'll give you on the one account, they'll give you on this account.
I mean, I think
the larger the money, the potential for higher.
I think we
I
just.
think it's something, and I agree with what you're doing, please don't misunderstand me. My problem is that account with the bank, that was a special account that was set up with them. That goes into, from there, it goes into their, North Star Investments or something for the bank. That is a special account, because we,
You roll it over to the investment, you roll it over. to
Money
the
market
investment account. We can do the same thing with this.
okay.
You can do the same thing.
We could reopen another account if we want, to change what the account type is. I just wanna know. Are we leaving money on the table? That's it.
Patrick has his hand up. Go ahead, Patrick.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about the FDIC protection. So if there's, let's say, 650 in one account, and I presume when Michael says it's a special account invested in North, whatever, we're talking about a money market account. Is there a 250 limit to protection in the account? And is there, in other words, 400 exposed if we were to do 650 into one account? Should we spread that across a couple of accounts to make sure our protection is in place?
Regarding that question, it's disclosed in every year's report.
250 no matter what.
That we consistently run over the FDIC protection limits regardless.
Yeah, it's 250 no matter what. We
Yeah,
have-
and I guess given that we're talking about a smaller community bank, I don't know. I just raise it as a something we should be.
Yeah, they're still not gonna be able to do it because that would be against the treasury, like just 250, whether it's a small bank or it's Bank of America.
And I'm not a banking expert, but even if you had separate accounts,
It would make a difference.
when you can't accumulate them all, it's all in the same name of BGPOA. So you got a 250 out of your million, but you have money.
So it's per financial institution, is that?
Yep,
Yeah,
and
Okay.
it's profile based, so we have 9 accounts, we have 1 account.
yeah.
It's under their tax ID.
Okay, so there's a motion on the table that has not been seconded yet. Joel motioned to have the funds segregated into this separate account. Do we have a second for the motion?
I'll second.
Patrick, we'll take a roll call vote for this as well.
Patrick, how do you vote?
Yes.
We can't hear you.
What was the motion?
Yes.
Sorry, can you say that?
The motion was to take the funds, the funds and put them in a segregated account.
And just so we're all on the same page, exclusively the only thing in the one account will be whatever is for operating.
Correct.
So that would include transfer funds.
No. Transfer funds, the only thing that would be in that account would be the dues and the loan to pay for the bank. That would be it. And then everything else goes over.
Dues and assessment income.
That's it.
Okay.
Okay, so Patrick voted yes. I'm gonna vote yes.
Earl,
Yes.
Joel,
Yes.
I vote yes. Dan,
Yes.
Leslie,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Zach,
Yes.
motion passes.
And then what would happen then is that money would come in, we could do it quarterly or monthly and get shifted over. And we'd be able to probably do better with this account because we're only gonna have 5 transactions a month on this account. If that,
But this
Well,
gap,
That should be the lowest interest account.
the highest.
because it'll have the most amount of money in it.
They'll have money with no transactions.
Okay, moving on, Joel.
So somebody's giving me a figure.
Yep.
Looking at it.
Recent capital construction.
Okay, yes.
Mhm.
So what I did.
Tab 8, everybody.
Tab 8, what I did is I listed for the construction up, including the interest up to that, up to December. Basically what happened here, is we borrowed $3 million from Wayne Bank. We collected construction fees from the beginning of 2019 of 11/30, of $2.6 million. We used that, the 460 and the 660 coming out of the capital improvements in the PNC. Those those total amounts were originally approved, that's how we broke them down like that. And we used $151,000 of other money to fund that. So that comes up to $6.8 million. And you look at the full project cost is 2,200,000, building project cost is 2,900,000. We had tennis court plus pickleball work of 178,000. Architects at 381, and then the ladies' cost and your assessment was another 52. So our total construction cost out there was 5,800,000. We've paid since inception $596,000 in interest, and we've also amortized the loan down by 451. So the fact that these two numbers balance out, it was wrong by a buck. I apologize, guys. It's around the issue, but basically that's the proof. In addition to that, there are still some items that are outstanding from the construction. A would be the parking lot resurfacing and striping, which Michael had to bill for about $220,000. The roof station, Michael, is that, what's that? Is that the band around the roof?
That's the band.
I got it. Yep. So that's that.
That was a gift.
Okay. And 25,000 miscellaneous other stuff to be completed in there. So that means we need $270,000 still left. So that's that. And then what I did is I just did some quick math. This is what we billed, about 527,000. We collected 507. The debt service was 412. So on a cash basis, that left us over, it should left us over about $94,000. That, is what you originally planned to have money left over, to build up pay this off early and do other things, take care of the fund balances. So, that was what that was. And then if you go to the next page, it summarizes up about what we did for the revised, because it was a while ago, the revised assessment. So the total revised assessment relating to payables was 516,000. We had the 109 in the gym equipment. We had replacement for the dam reserve, 117. Auction loan was 4 million. And other capital reserves and over 457. So that's what made up. That's what the original intent was. So I think some of this extra money here is going to need to go to apply to the overage that we have for 1,200,000, but we paid everything out, so we're done. So that's it. That was just my point of notice, and just an FYI, if anybody has any questions, you can see me now. If one, it's fine. That's it. That's it.
Are we, the decision to strike and redo the parking lot, is that we've made the decision and we need to allocate the money, or we have the ability to potentially delay that? Is that something we can't?
We can't do it now, it's too old, so.
Just, it's not because of the weather. $200,000.
Was 75,000 the original estimate on that?
That's why I'm saying. It's
What?
way different.
No, it's a different company.
Is it the company? Is that just one single estimate? I mean, it's so
That's
different.
this and the.
So the original estimate was $75,000
Mhm,
to do this,
This
top, so
mhm,
with parking lot striping.
mhm. Which we accounted,
I thought we accounted for, but that's a big,
was that included in the original?
75.
It was, right?
yeah, it's a big difference. That's the one thing I remember.
So one thing you gotta realize, guys, I think that when you get a price to do something in construction, then you can do it. And if you don't, it's only going up, it's not going down.
Well, that price is also full here and full, 75 is just here. So,
But the total.
and that was from, we're not giving it anyway, we're gonna have to give another price when the time comes. Right now,
Okay.
what you have a binder coat out there that'll last quite a few years with the binder coat. What happens is the North Force coat and your water and stuff get down in underneath it, and then when the frost, it'll start, making potholes and stuff like that.
All right, if we don't do this, it'll cost us more money, it won't.
No problem. Just ask the question.
That's it for me, guys.
Any more questions around that before I move forward?
Thank you, Joe, for doing this work.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Okay, next up is the insurance renewal kickoff. Patrick and Joel are going to, I believe.
Yeah, Michael and Joel and I had a Zoom with our brokers on the 5th of December to kick off our renewal, which comes up at the end of February. So far things, it's very preliminary, but there's no panic button being pushed right now. And our brokers seem to think that the market is stabilizing. Although it's always still, expensive. So it's unclear whether we're going to see an increase or what the significance of any increase might be. But what we're working on in the meantime is cleaning up our open claim files. There's one or two that I think there's one that needs to be closed because we settled it, and then the other one is one that's an active matter that I think the reserved costs can come down quite a bit, which will make our story, as we say, a little bit better when we go out to market in January. So we're going to get together with them again. There's another Zoom set up. I'm not sure if it's still this month or right after the new year, in first week in January, and then we're going to really start to get down to it in renewing all our commercial programs. So stay tuned.
Okay. Moving on to item E, the general update from the water company. Alan Shantz is here.
Good morning, everybody. As far as the rate case, we're still talking along a little bit, and we were hoping to maybe be in front of the commission in December, but as it's getting late and the holidays are coming up, looks like January. But we will have some resolution on that. As for the tank, last week, about 10 days ago, next days there actually, Michael and Anthony met with the Department of Health. And the engineers, they just wanted to finish up some calculations. Now that's all done. And they're finalizing all the info, and the bid should go out. Or
No, they're still finalizing some final figures with the DOH and the fleet pump services who we get our pumps through.
we have started internally updating the plant a little bit with pumps and panels and
The plans been done by the engineers that were, they've already done and been signed on?
Yeah, everything's been signed off. The Department of Health, they just had a few adjustments. Cleanup items, yes, everything's done.
Does does water department have to get involved? Water and sanitation from the department?
Sure, no.
I mean, sewer, I'm sorry, from Tyler Thompson, okay.
and that's it for the moment.
Rate case was submitted.
A year.
Rate case was submitted. They were doing their internal interviews or whatever that was.
Oh, we still have to do a final.
So now we're just waiting on,
They,
and
they just sent more stuff.
There's been
We,
five questions.
more questionnaires.
it's delayed on their end, not our end. Where all our stuff is there.
But on their end, there's kind of like an internal limit. They can't really push this back.
Well, that's where I'm going to. What's the timeline?
Yeah,
It was January is where to, they prevented their deadline.
that's it.
And then do we have an idea on when you want to know that obviously everybody's aware that the tank is necessary at this point to even grow as a community, right?
Mhm.
So what's the
January,
as
as soon as the case gets in, we've been meeting with banks and.
so then we got to submit for a
Right, and that takes, automatically it sits for 90 days before then, and then they start working on it after 90 days. And you're probably talking in the spring. Before they're, early spring, before they get it approved.
Is there a reason why the rate filing case would say March and not January on the PSC website?
The reason for that is that's just how it's extended out. That they're supposed to get it done in January.
Okay.
We have no control over it.
No.
that is March of 24.
No, it's.
It's 25, it's 20. It's 25, that's the information. There's a lot to it. There's a lot.
Sounds like we got our work cut out.
There's no we in this.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay, that's the agenda here. Okay, we are on committee report. Joel from Lynn.
So on the lakes, we have students throw them out real fast. The first, I believe, we got a check for around $1,200 from the Lake Louise Country Club to help us offset some of the costs of our fish stock. They paid 20% of the bill, so that was a good thing. The next day on the last board meeting, we talked about that there was interest from certain people that about buying and not buying we would be licensing, so someone would be able to come in and have a dock for as long as they lived in Emerald Green. And what they could do is we would then go and replace that dock with a new dock. And I've gotten prices from 2 different vendors. The high side of it was $8,000. So basically, if Alex wanted to license his space and it would be his space, it would cost him $8,000. And we would take that money and we would buy a new dock. So it's a way for us to expand our dock space without costing us money, and we stay neutral. So if 6 people want to buy that space, take a license out for their space, then they would be able to do that. And then we would increase the docks by 6. So we still always have the same number of rent. And what this gets around is people being here at 12 o'clock at night and sleeping outside, which they do. To be here when the office opens up, to be first in line, you got a dock space. So, that was it. So, if the board has interest in following through with this, we would have to work with Barnum as far as,
So you're just talking about like a leasing program for the docks?
yeah, it's a licensing. So this way,
For life.
Huh?
For life,
not for like, as long as you
for
live,
the ownership of the home.
so whatever ownership name your house is in, that's what the licensing agreement.
I would consider that more of a lease, but okay.
Whatever you want to call it, lease license.
So,
So, and this
But
way,
it would go with the homeowner, not the property.
no, we're going with the property, it would be with whoever the owner, whatever ownership entity is in the house. Because some people own their houses in trust. So it would be the trust.
No, but I mean, if, let's say I get one, right?
Right,
And I sell my house.
then it comes back to us. It
That's
doesn't
what,
say-
that's what
so
I'm.
you're talking about a lifetime rental.
Not like, as long as you live in the community.
Yeah, it doesn't go with the property.
No.
It just goes with the homeowner's name, that's it.
Right. So if you're here and you live here for 10 years, in the 11th year, you say, okay, I'm selling my house and I'm going, great, you sell your house. That space then comes back to the community, it comes back into the rental pool. If someone wants to lease that or license that space, they have the right to do it. And that's it.
I mean, I would probably be more open to like a 3-year rental. If
Yeah.
somebody wants to rent their dock.
We can't, this is expensive, this is $8,000, so someone's not gonna put up $8,000 to guarantee a space for 3 years, and then we have to.
I don't know about that.
Huh?
I don't know about that.
Because
Because
it's
it's,
not spoken
It's
to.
considered community dock right now.
It is, but basically, I lease it, if I fill out the form and I pay my $250, it's my space for the season. Dan, you can't come, if I'm not in my slip, I'm out on the lake, you're not supposed to come into my slip and park your boat. So basically, someone has this space for the whole season.
So
So
membership paid for.
originally they did, yes.
Yes.
yeah, I just would struggle with, I'm not a boat owner, but
Mhm.
I've been on those oversight calls when I first got on. People fight. If they didn't live locally, they came back and they didn't have an opportunity to participate in the
Exactly.
acquisition. But I also, don't think this should be in, hey, I got a house and be here 20 years, so does it make a difference if the community's growing? I would say first, and don't allow other people to be a part of the process. I think we gotta find a more equitable way.
Well, this is it, if someone wants to buy it.
It's not equitable if I can take it out of inventory as long as I live in a house.
But I'm putting it back, so if we have 20 just say we have 20 rental docks, and we have 6 people that want to license it, okay? I take the money that those people give us, I buy 6 brand new docks, I park them in the water. So I had 20 before, I have 20 now.
So do we know what that capacity looks like? Right now, we don't know the.
No, Earl, I think we're confused. He's talking about specific add-ons. You're not talking about the docks in place right now.
Correct.
Right,
You're talking about just these road docks.
Correct.
I'm not adding
new docks that would be financed by members
And
taking
they
out
will
these
be
actions.
throughout the
So we
war.
don't have to find-
Okay, then that's fine. Okay, all right. I just
So
want
I
to make
think
sure everybody
that's why
gets a
we're-
fair chance.
I think we would have let off that definition.
Okay,
No problem.
I also spoke to both the dock companies as far as adding on, and one of the companies was the one that we got the original docks from, Custom Dock. In fact, when you go to Custom Dock's website, we're on their website with our picture of our docks. They both said you'd be better off, because these are old docks, you'd be better off just put it in a whole new system.
Lane,
On the finger, yeah.
Can I ask two questions?
Sure.
So, first question, you imagine this is a one-time upfront fee?
Yes.
So, one question / concern I'd have about that is that anything you put in water is gonna require maintenance and upkeep it over time. So my concern would be at the end of life that the association of these, of the docks themselves, the association would be picking up the tab to, just put that out there, and then it would be picked up the tab to either replace or upkeep something that is the preserve of a small group of members. The other question I would have would be about, and I guess this would just require some attention from Marvin and others, but, you know, it's one thing if I sell the property, we might want to consider the question of what happens if somebody, for example, passes their property on to,
My son.
to a family member, or if there's lots of ways that people can kind of transfer property, and like, if I put all my property in a trust, the house owns the trust, right? The trust owns the house, and then there's no switch of owner, even though I fear that there would be, people would figure out mechanisms to basically keep these leases in perpetuity, even as the actual resident of the house.
So there has to be some sort of deed, I guess. You'd have to create, the office would have to create a deed
I see
that
that.
would transfer over. But I guess my question would be is if we did add another lane, and this was at the expense of 20 membership. Now, are you telling other members that they don't have access to the deck on that dock?
No, they would be able to set.
So we allow people to walk on dock.
Yeah.
But now we're put in a position where Chris buys a dock,
Private.
Alana buys a dock. Are you considered that private from me having access to their dock?
They're buying slip, right? They're not buying.
Right.
It's a slip.
That has to be very specific. That's what.
So it wouldn't be the same thing if we just do it ourselves,
Yes,
put more docks in, and just charge more.
but the
And you
problem
sell
is,
your house, that's your problem, but next person's
but
got
then
it.
it's costing us money. Then it's costing us money.
The purpose, so, the
Yeah, why
purpose
is it-
of this is to save the association the upfront costs of
Yeah.
defending docks, potentially to generate revenue for the
Right.
It might be
That's the-
that's to make a generic fee, $50 annually. And then you start to put that money into an escrow or whatever for each dock that you rent.
Patrick,
Yeah, so the concept here really is, and really the only one you should be thinking about is a license, because we're talking about what is effectively common space. And the tried and true way of doing that for condos, co-ops, HOAs is a license. And the beauty of the license is really two things. One, you can craft that license to address the concerns you just raised, Chris, about people trying to manipulate the pass down provisions. Plus, these licenses are usually revocable under certain circumstances. You might have to pay some of the fee back. You can work all of that out in the language. But that's the beauty of the license. The other beauty of the license is how much you can charge for it. You create a market. We know there's a demand for the docks, and you can basically set the price based on how high are people willing to go. And the costs at the end, first of all, maintenance costs throughout the life of the license, that's on the licensee. You could also build into the license that the licensor has to return it to its condition when it was given the license. So basically you make them pick up the back end maintenance cost as well. Many different ways to do it. It's a really maneuverable way to deal with these kinds of spaces, and it raises a boatload of capital, no pun intended.
But that wasn't good with Chris. You're maintaining these docks now, you know what I mean? Docks are probably might be over 35 years old. I would think,
Couple days.
yeah. So.
Well, they're on the website. How old is that
And how
website?
much have they cost you in this past 35 years?
They was on my vacation time, so I don't know what it cost, because that's where I got that. Over the years, we only replaced, one or two fingers, and they were like $2,100 a piece. The last one we replaced.
I think I get the point of it. I'm confident we can figure a way out to do it and it's workable. I think, there's no other, that's my point. It would be creating an amenity that would not be accessible to every member of the community. Right? You're creating an amenity that is accessible to the wealthier members of the community by definition. And we have no other amenities at the POA that are structured that way. That would be just a big philosophical change for us in terms of how we've approached creating community facilities and spaces. And I think there's still, I can get my head around the kind of the legalese of all of it, and I'm confident we could come up with an airtight plan to make the plan good as it is. I guess that's still sitting with me, that this would be something that benefits a small group of people.
Let me ask you this question, maybe it's just this idea, but we have no idea how many people would be interested in doing it.
Respectfully, I don't care. I want equity. I want equity. Anyone should, I mean, exclusivity, everyone should have access. And when you put financial thresholds, you're immediately by default aiming for those persons who have more access than others. And I have to apologize because I'm probably one of those. But I still believe that everyone that lives in this community should have access. To Patrick's point, we gotta work it out. Chris called it right. We gotta get in the room, we gotta work it out. But we need to work it out with the purpose of how do we allow this vehicle, this license, if that's the definition we're gonna use, to be accessible to the majority and not the minority.
Well,
that's all I'm asking.
What's happening is we're increasing the number of spaces.
No one's questioning that. The barrier of entry is always.
I think we got that logic.
Yeah,
You want
yeah,
to add
yeah,
space,
not
but
gonna.
then you're trying to find creative ways of.
Your committee was looking for,
Basically, the approval, just to say, hey, like, we're
To look
not
into
gonna decide everything here.
Yeah,
We're just basically say, my question is, we're talking about this, but when push comes to shove, I think we need to know how many people we're talking about. We're talking 2 spaces, 3 spaces, 10 spaces.
What's your demand now? Just explain maybe to everybody and to me. We have docks there by the pool.
Right.
There's docks out by across from the townhouses, right?
Correct, by the day.
And how do people get them now? You said there's a lot of show up. So it's open every year to different people, and if you don't show up, you don't get it. Even if you have books. Right.
I think our biggest problem here is, years ago, if you didn't live on the lake, so you got it done, and you got a little dinghy or a pedal boat. Well, today, people, don't live on the lake, but they have pontoon boats.
Right, yes, that's the thing.
So now, you're taking down space. If you look at our dock by the pool, most of it, I mean, it's full, like.
So you don't show up, so now, talking about is for just new docks, what about the existing docks? You're not gonna charge for them?
No,
You're still on charge.
the same process.
this is the deal.
The same charge if you get here on time?
What is it now, by the way?
$100. It's $250.
It would create 2 systems. There would be, the existing docks would remain for rental on the existing systems. The new docks would be licensed.
So if you got here, just let me understand it. So if you got here 12 o'clock in the morning and signed up, you got the existing dock for $250, but you're not around and you don't do it, you gotta buy a dock for $8,000.
No, you just don't have. Just don't have it.
Marvin, demand is exceeding.
So if you do this new thing, the people who don't get the existing spots,
I'll
which
simplify it.
actually have to pay
Let me ask this
$8,000,
question.
right?
You make
Is that what you're proposing?
No,
Wait, listen a second. You make an investment of somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000 to buy a boat.
Right.
And you make an investment that you want to put it in the water. There is a possibility that could happen where there might not be any boat, there might not be any dock spaces because you're on vacation that week and you can't get here.
I understand.
So give you a guaranteed one-time membership.
Right.
Of.
On new
So you'll
docks.
always.
It's on any dock.
It's on any dock.
If you want to, if you're happy with your slip that's right now on the old dock, that's your slip.
But if you don't get it, and you're gonna sell all of these, then it may be that people can't sign up and get them for
No, they
nothing.
can't, because what's happening is as you.
If it all gets used up and all bought up, then.
If everybody, if all 20 docks gets bought up, we're gonna have 20 new docks.
So here's my just question, what you're been dealing with this, how many people now are complaining there's no dock space? What's the number?
No, what they're worried about
Well,
is.
how many?
Hold on, just Joel. We're debating, so this is the second time you've asked about exploring this with your committee. Your committee can do whatever it wants.
Okay.
But what we need to debate this in a serious way is a written proposal. The context that I think I'm reading into this, that in the past, members of your committee have had their feelings hurt because they felt like they submitted proposals to the board that were then either not acted upon or voted down, and they got upset about that, right or wrong.
But that's not.
What you're doing here is kind of polling opinion, and there's, I think, divided opinion on this, but we're getting into the weeds of something that requires a written document to look at. Like, we're debating a proposal that doesn't exist. So have your committee develop a written proposal, and then we can put it on the agenda.
But what I'm saying to you is before I even do that, I need to know if there's interest.
Yes, but. I'm
Not to
telling
you.
No, but you're asking whom? Because if that's the case, it would be best to reach out to the office and have them send out a poll, because if you
That's
don't,
exactly what I.
then we could have nipped this in the bud 5 minutes ago. Reach out to the office, send out a questionnaire, get the feedback from that, and
If
then.
you only have 2 people that wanna pay $8,000.
It's not worth.
And that's, so that, I guess Chris is saying the onus is on you finding that
So as
tangible.
long as you guys are cool with me, we're talking to Brittany about.
Let me see if I understand this correct.
Sure.
We have 20 docks, right? 20 slips. Someone wants to buy this license, $8,000, let's say $8,000.
60 people want to buy.
Let's make it simple. One person wants to buy a license. Now we're not gonna have 20 slips, we're gonna have 21 slips.
Well, no, because one person, I'm not gonna do it.
You're not 19 now.
Then.
No, you're 20. No, you're right. Let's.
It is.
Okay, we're gonna pause this so we can move the meeting forward. Joel's gonna ask the
You have
email. We're
You
gonna
have 21.
So the other 20 wouldn't be taken over
Yeah.
with that extra slips
Right.
being added. Those new slips would be paid for by the new licensee.
Exactly. That's
Okay.
exactly.
Similar to what they kind of do every month.
And I know we want to move forward, but you know what? We've been moving pretty expeditiously the last few meetings, and if this is something that we have to take a few minutes out because.
Well, I
Well,
thought
let
that
me
we
do, let me do the,
got
as long as
his
I got
answer.
your okay to do the survey, let me do the
Yeah,
survey, and then we'll come back to it. No problem.
Okay. Cool.
Another thing is,
Just make
I don't
sure.
think we have 20 spaces, because if everybody has pontoons, now you cut it down to 10, you need 2 spaces to put the pontoon in.
Because of the beam.
Pontoons are big.
And
Mhm.
obviously, most of them are gonna be people that don't live on the lake anyway.
Correct.
The people that are on the lake probably have their own.
Yeah, but I also wanted a dock because I wanted the luxury, if I want my family's home, we wanna go to the pool. We just wanna go with the boat.
Guys, we're
Want your cake and eat it.
we're discussing a non-issue.
Guys, can we move on? We have such a long executive session. I really,
Cool.
Thank you, guys.
No.
Sorry.
Full committee.
Full committee, we didn't meet, we have nothing to say.
Okay, violence. Yeah.
no meeting, no meeting.
Okay. Earl from oversight.
We had a meeting, but there was no critical topics on the table. We were originally gonna talk about the compost area, but there was a email that kind of addressed that from the management office, so. We talked about 10, 15 minutes. There was no critical items and nobody on the committee brought up anything.
Okay, strategic planning
No
and
meeting.
finance, no meeting, events and welcoming. We had a lovely event yesterday. We did gingerbread house competition. We had roughly 50 people there, I would say.
There's lots of kids, lots of families.
Lots of kids, lots of family. I always say these events are so nice to come to. You really see the best of the community. It was awesome. Events committee will be resuming their meetings in the month of January to plan for next year.
You know, in Milford, my grandson was involved in that. They had the Grinch with the kids, and the kids went after the Grinch and, you know, took her down. And then the sheriff came in and arrested the Grinch.
Oh my
That
God.
would be such a great thing here, you know?
Fortunately, there was no violence last.
Yeah, it was,
Yes, it was successful, so we already talked about making it an annual tradition, so we can get to the event. And,
Alex is the Grinch.
yeah, Alex.
okay, our next meeting is,
Yeah, that's a
what is it? Typo. January, hold on, I'm gonna think, I don't know if that date is correct, hold on, because that says 15. Our next meeting is scheduled, I believe, for January 19th,
It'll be the 19th.
which is a holiday weekend, but,
Actually, I think it's on the 12th. And I'm sorry, guys, about the typo.
okay. Oh, yes.
I
we
thought I
are.
had us for the 12th because of that holiday weekend, but actually, hold on, wrong calendar.
So is the
It
12th?
is the 12th, I see the Zoom link on the,
Yeah, it's on the 12th.
okay, 9 o'clock on the 12th.
Perfect.
Okay, can I get a motion to move into executive session?
Motion.
Let's go.
Somebody's.
Earl, second. Gonna take every homeowners offline.
I need to,
Chris, please, Chris.
Douglas.
Chris.
If anybody wants a snack or a treat, we bought it from the leftover, there's coffee there if you'd like. Easy to do that.
Buddy Moore didn't want to sign checks while we're waiting to.
for Erwin Siegel's office every year for Halloween. And I don't know where these people, whether local, a lot of local people work there, but they used to make these ginger.
It's not a bit, it was there.
It was just unbelievable. One of them made a volcano and you could.
I once told our dancers at sprung force, and usually there's a subfloor when springs the rubber, and I'm just wondering if the floor like kind of broken now.
From someone who played, when the gym first opened, I hit it for like 3 straight days. My knees roll up like tennis balls. I was like, nah, I'm not coming back. But no, I think the purpose, I don't think we even realized how much usage
Right.
the court was gonna give. I mean, and it's not a bunch of bad kids. Literally, there's every age group is on it all the time. And so eventually we gotta address that because there are 2 things. It's the give. It's also, when it doesn't give, you increase the likelihood of making up your need. You're gonna pull.
You raise a great point, but even with the sprung floor, they'll put wood or vinyl, it doesn't matter what you put.
Something to get with.
If it's not giving you.
I mean, that honestly, if we can just put, it's corny, but if we can just put plywood, whole space, you can put whatever you want on. You can put this little rubber, it'll give, you'll lock it down. But you gotta. It's supposed to do everything because.
When you go to change so. But even with this. Even it's strict, they're all.
They're gonna do it again. They gotta do it.
Well, that's why they use that name wood, because it dense, and that basketball dribbles.